Hey everyone. Hi Capricorn. All right, so welcome to the channel if you're new. I'm Raaji. If you're returning, of course, hi. Now, Capricorn. Two quick little things. One, happy February. It's Aquarius season. It's very mental, it's very intellectual. It can be, well, a really heady kind of space, maybe less emotions in this time, but I also sense that that's something that you need in a way. Okay. Secondly, it is Opal Oracle's 2-year anniversary. It's pretty exciting. I'm actually very happy, slow and steady, right? But getting there, and meaning that it's not about, I guess this is something for you too. It's not about, I sense that there's not, it now and in the future, at the very least now, there's some sort of understanding about, it's not about the friends that you have. It's not about what your definition of self is. We've been talking about this with you, right? Like you in relation to the story, you being connected to the story of who it is that you were, but you've been changing, especially all Capricorns, but well, you've just figuring out what it is that's been stuck and anything that isn't working anymore, because Capricorn can very much represent emotional, like, attachment that's unhealthy. No offense. It happens. Wherever Capricorn is in anyone's chart is a part of that, right? And we have to, with the North Node in Cancer, we have to be more open to letting go of some of that, being more in the tribe mentality, in the trust, in emotional security versus emotional attachment, right? There's a big, big difference there. And I actually just recorded Cancer, so just something to think about. And of course, I usually mention, but if you're new, your opposite sign is the mirror of you. Okay. So it's really important for you, regardless of sun, moon, rising, all that kind of jazz, it really is the opposite. The opposition is so crucial. Okay. So if you'd like to learn more, please, it'll be in the February playlist. Okay. So let's look at, you have really strong cards. I'm just going to, it's kind of, I heard insane, but it's okay. You have the Devil and the Hermit in your work. Okay. This is work on self. It could be in your job. We'll talk about that in a second. I just want to show you them. In your love, we have the Wheel of Fortune and the Lovers. Wowza. Okay. All major arcana. In your creativity, we have the High Priestess and the Tower. Those are the major arcana, 6 of them. Here's the number 6 in your love. Very important. Obviously, some of you could be dealing with Gemini. It also is just about you looking at yourself, okay, in a really raw way. You looking at life in a really raw way, but not feeling like those dreams where you're naked, right? It's not about that. It's like, so what if you were naked? You know what I mean? To the world. I heard, who gives a shit, right? If, like, say everyone knew your business, or whatever your business may be. So let's look at this. Just a second, please. I sense work, because work can be many things. I see it specifically now. These are general about the work that you're doing inside of you, Capricorn. It's important for you to look at any addictions that you have, any, again, emotional attachments to things, like whatever it is that you've been connected to that you feel like you can't, like, let go of. But the thing is this is interesting. So if you ever take like a self-defense class, if someone tries to grab you, so if you try to just like pull your self out of it. Like, it's kind of like Chinese finger trap. Like, if you just try to pull back towards yourself too hard, too fast, what happens is this gets in the way, right? We can't get it out of there. But what you can do is adjust and pull, right? Because then it gives more space. It just makes more sense to pull out of it. Someone can't hold on to that but see? So there's something about, this is also 2 days before the total lunar eclipse. Okay. Of course, these intentions are for February, but because we're close to this time, that can relate to now, and it will relate to the future as it related to last summer. Okay. Now, again, you are cardinal, so you have to look at some of your control issues. No offense. We all have them. Okay. Anything that you're still afraid of, about who it is that you are, about the power that you hold, and how you express that, right? Because what happens when we want to exert power on something and control it, right? Particularly when it has to do with other people, right? Well, we have to really start looking at that responsibly, maturely, analyzing why is that? Who taught me that, right? Who taught me that I needed to be afraid of that? Who taught me that I would only feel safe and loved and protected if I controlled this, that, and the other thing, right? Who taught you? I heard codependency, right? First, because the thing is codependency doesn't necessarily, it can be many, many things. You can be codependent on money. You can be codependent on your relation, on another person, and the interesting thing about cardinal signs is there's also this weird thing that happens where you feel like you're not a control freak. No offense. But what you'll end up doing, a lot of cardinal signs do this, is where it's like an underpinning of control. Like, say you want to be in control. Say you're in a relationship and you want to control the money, right? Granted, now one person may be better at something than the other person, but the thing is that's still a control, right? How people spend, because you rule a lot about resources, right? You rule work, and you're the top of the mountain, so you're looking down at all of the earth, right? So it's important in understanding that responsibility. But it's cool because you are really looking at it plainly, and I see that someone is shining a light on the things, on your fears, on there's light being shed upon the darkness, which is important. Okay, it's really important, because darkness cannot come, it cannot touch the light. It can't, it can go on the edge of it, but it can't subdue. Light always wins over shadow. Okay? Always. Now, there's a lot going on in there. I know. Love. Beautiful. Well, for some of you, and I like this too, right? Here's the lovers, here's lovers, and you obviously can see these are the same card in a different context, right? And I guess in a way, if this is you, Capricorn, at work, right, in your work and what you're working on, this is you in your relationship, or at very least, this is something that you have to attend to, the light and the shadow of you. It's very, and the cool thing is with the Hermit and the Wheel of Fortune in between, you have a wonderful opportunity right now to ascend something, to ascend, I heard, up and out of something. And also to release whatever chains are binding you. And I also sense, because the Lovers and the Devil are here with the two people, and you also have the Tower with two people in the reverse, is like, well, people are letting go of things, right? There's a letting go of that. And I heard a letting go of control. And then I heard this whole conversation in my head about like, no, but I can't let go of control. If I let go of control, then that means that I'm not controlling myself, and then that means I'm not responsible. Easy. What I mean is that everyone is on a different position on this wheel. Okay? You can't force anyone to come up here because you think that's a better place. You can't, you know what I mean? Like, try to hurry someone up along or make this spin any faster or anything. It's like you have to. This is a lot about acceptance. I see a lot of honesty here, Capricorn. It's really beautiful. It's like, I just sense that you're really looking at yourself in the mirror in a really positive way. And I think because it is Aquarius time, you're not feeling as sensitive right now. Okay. I also see that you're not trying to like hide how it is that you feel, but you're not necessarily like just blurting everything out. It's like you're having an internal dialogue with what's going on. And there's a suggestion to do so where you really take a gander at yourself. Like, again, have that conversation. Like, if you have any expectations or of others or yourself, or, you know, something comes up about, again, for some of you, there could be some sort of addiction to something, like an obsession. Well, there's a lot of questioning and internal dialogue to like, why is it that I just thought that? Why is it that why do I feel like I need to control whatever that is? Your child, your husband, your wife, whatever. Like, you know, the people at your job, whatever. What is this control? I guess the thing is you have to ask yourself, like, what is control to you? Right? And I see that the more, there's so much, it's like all the cards actually on the bottom are in the reverse. Okay, all the cards at the top are in the upright. There's this really amazing mirror situation happening, and it's really powerful. I heard again, Cancer, definitely, please listen to that if you want to extend your understanding. Okay. For some of you, you also could become more raw in, I think I mentioned that in the beginning, right? In what it is that you want in a relationship, right? We learn a lot about what it is that we do want by receiving what it is that we don't want in life, right? And any Saturn placement is very challenging, right? You know, for some of you have, you know, Saturn in the 6th house, holy Toledo, right? Capricorn in the 6th house, this is strong stuff. Even if you don't, maybe that's just something that you want to look up and what that means. Now, let's look into creativity. High Priestess in reverse and the Tower in reverse. Very interesting. Well, I see the less sensitive you are, and then I heard the word expectation to The word control has come up so many. It's 15 minutes too. The word control has come up so much in this reading. I just want to take a note. I feel like for a lot of you, if you want to do this exercise, it would be helpful. You should take the word control and make it into an acronym. And what's a C word, an O word, an N word, a T word, an R word, an O word, an L word, etc. Or whatever language you speak. Control. What, and also maybe define that to yourself. Like, again, I asked earlier, right? Like, what needs to happen for you to feel in control, and why is it that you need that control to feel stable, emotionally stable, right? Why is that? And I sense that if you, again, have this really honest introspection, then you will have a clear reflection of what it is that's going on. And it's like these chains just disappear, right? And it gives you a brand new opportunity to be able to have faith in the fact that all the decisions that you have made up until this point are exactly what you needed to do, regardless of whether they felt good or did not throughout, right? If we always all made the right decision that brought us like, yeah, our whole life, we wouldn't really know shit. You know what I mean? It would be, and I think there's something about that that you just have to, and I sense that you already know this, but it's something about like reminding yourself, like, oh, wait a second. I wouldn't be as strong as I am now if I didn't have to go through those difficult things. If those people didn't lie to me, if I wasn't manipulated, or if I didn't try to manipulate this person and then have this crazy thing happen to me, whatever the situation was, whatever the abuses or the difficulties or the challenges were, what you classify. Because once we, again, take a strong gander at what that whole situation is, well, what happens? Then we start to see the difficulty, the drama, the dishonesty, or whatever we want to call all that, as something that are great, great, great lessons to be able to see those parts, especially the shadow, heavier parts, as great teachers, right? Great teacher. And I see the more that you understand, and I sense for a lot of you, you should either like save this video or try to download it or something, or listen to it in like 6 months. Okay. And what will happen is if you work, when you work through what it is that we're talking about, what the cards are talking about here, then you start turning then your life starts turning around in a way where you're more in tune with your intuition. You're more in tune with your own body. You are more aware of your own control issues. You're aware of where your dependency on things comes from and how to release yourself from that, right? Like there's more honesty about it, because we can't change anything until we admit that there is a problem. And as a human being, we're laden with imperfections, right? There's no human that's like, la, 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 I live in utopia. No, that's not real life. The lion still rips out the gazelle's throat, right? Let me let Zoomy in. Hold on.
Come on. Get in here. Come on. Come on. Yes. Don't jump in, honey. Come on over here. Come on.
Sit down. Sit down. Thank you. So, now, what's interesting is, again, since we've been talking about this, now creativity looks like this. Okay? High Priestess in the Tower. I see that your dreams could be giving you messages on how to avoid, hey, get over here and sit down. Thanks. You don't have to face the wall, weirdo. Just don't knock over the camera. Your dreams are giving you advice on how to evade disaster, on how to, maybe it's giving you little hints on how you just avoided something, right? Or again, how to avoid something. Your dreams will also be telling you more about, again, any control or addiction or, I just keep doing this. It's like, what do they say? You know, if you hold your fist like this long enough, it actually makes you think you're holding on to something, right? It makes you feel like you're holding on to something. It's almost difficult to try to like open it once you've been closed fist for so long, right? This could also be, you know, maybe part of your control is that you don't want to let anyone know what's going on the inside, even though all it is you, right? Whoever you are. And there's nothing wrong with that, whether you're having a good day or a bad day or whatever. Just who's judging you, right? Because I know that I think there's a natural tendency wherever Capricorn is in anyone's chart where they feel, or Saturn, where they feel there's a lot of guilt attached to Saturn. You know, there's a lot of shame attached to Saturn. And wherever, again, Capricorn and Saturn are in your chart, it expresses what we need to learn as we evolve as souls in this life. And the more that we are release shame and guilt about the things that have happened in this life and other lives, and understand that it's not about, there's no way to control everything. It doesn't work like that. And so there's something, I sense that your creativity at this point is it's a creative process of internalization to the acceptance of who it is that you are and all it is that you can become by looking at yourself with like the reflection is becoming and it will become crystal clear. Okay, I mean, look at these cards. See this? Look at the color scheme of here. Here's one block. Okay, this is work and creativity. You being creative in your self-work. I see that very strongly. This is love and spirituality. Look at these colors. Right? This is life. This is real life. You deserve to be able to use your skills to, you always are safe and loved and protected. Okay? You don't have to build stability. You don't have to build love. You don't have to build protection. You already are all those things. Right? You don't have to wear armor to live in life. There's nothing to worry about. Really. I see also because your creativity sort of shifted and now all the darker cards are kind of up in the corner, which is good. You're like, I also sense that you should, because we talked about a lot of heavy things there for a second, like 20 minutes. So yes, there's time for you to make appropriate, to come to an appropriate understanding to any kind of judgment you have about yourself or about others, again, that goes back into control, right? There's a time and a place to look at that and to take time, but then you also have to learn how to balance this accordingly to be more in your softer space, in your solar plex, in your inner child, in your creativity, in your spiritual, connect to God, connect to spirit, etc. Connect to yourself, your body, right? I see the more that you are healing yourself, for some of you, writing could be very important, or maybe there are certain books that'll help you to understand more about what's going on in this shedding process that you're going through. And because I think for some of you too, there could be a little bit of stubbornness where you're like, it's interesting. I heard, I don't need God. But I sense what it is what you're saying in a sense is, I don't need anybody, right? Like, I can do it all by myself. And yes, you can, right? But does it actually feel good? How do I want to say it? Well, we're always interacting with other people and environments, and that's through other people, whether that's you watching this now, you looking at your children, you observing the person at the gas station or the library, whatever. If you can start looking at these people in your life, then you realize that you're never alone, and that we're all interconnected, right? We're all living upon this plane of existence. We're all figuring out how to free ourselves from the ties that bind us to things that are not for our highest good. And the more that we can, again, see that reflection accordingly, honestly, and not judging ourselves, and again, not judging others, then we can, it's just such a, again, it's like, I just saw these chains like just disappearing because the light comes upon them, right? I also see praying would be very important, whoever it is that you do pray to, right? And to believe that you can, however it is that you feel like you can't, or you don't know how to feel good about something that's going on, you just have to realize that you can feel good about that, or you will feel good about that, because again, that's the way the wheel goes round, right? I mean, I've told this before, but I guess we'll end it with this. Like, this deck of cards is the first tarot deck that ever came into my possession, right? And it came at a time in my life where the love of my life, or somebody that was in my life for, like, we knew each other for 20 years, we were best friends for 20 years, and and now we don't have that connection anymore. But the point is that it was a really difficult time, not just because of that, but like all these other things. But part of the reason that situation left me is so that something else could enter my life. There was like this blessing came into my life because of something that was very challenging that was happening. And in the beginning, yeah, it was a little hard to accept that. But I stayed dedicated and diligent, and I was focused on like, okay, well, what can I creatively do now to better me? Not to necessarily try to fix the things that were broken with other people, but how to better myself. Because I realized that that's all I really could do. And part of the reason that the difficulties that came to me in my life were because I wasn't doing something for my highest good, you know. I mean, not maybe 100% of the time, but the majority of the time. And, you know, it needed to show me difficulties come in our life, I guess, in big changes and things like this, hardcore reflections, right, is so that we can recognize how strong we are, you know, and also how humble we can be by, again, not blaming the other, but by, you know, whether that's our parents, our lover, whatever, kids, it's just about like taking responsibility for our ego. You know, it's the sweetest thing you can do for yourself. All right, I love you. I think that wherever Virgo is in your chart, if you know that, you should check that out. It could be your 6th house too, but there's something about that, okay? It'll help you. It's more analytical, it's less emotional, okay? So you can sort through something in a more Aquarian way, right? More radical or revolutionary, different. It's just different. I sense that you're going to be using your mental capacity in a completely different way, at least during this time, and learning how that you have this skill. Everyone has this skill, and you just have to understand this tool in your toolbox, right? You just have to understand how to, like, where it is and how to use it when you need to use it. Okay. Love you. Peace.